When do I start music for my children? How do I start music for my children? Do I do a voice or do I do instruments? So, if you're a parent of an infant or somebody all the way up to teens, what you should be doing, when you should be doing it, how you can do it, we're going to find out. But before that, hi, my name is Kevin Wilson. I am a music educator. I've been doing this for more than 21 years. I've got three children below the age of 7, and I can understand the frustration, the guilt, and the desire to give your children the best and make them learn pressure free so they can grow up confident. You must have had somebody come and tell you, you have to start with ABRSM Trinity grades. That is the right way to start. Or you may have somebody come and say, no, Carnatic or Hindustani. That is the right way. It is the right foundation. Now, there's so much of information that comes your way. And as a young parent, this can be very overwhelming. And many of you may take the wrong turn. And taking the wrong turn will lead to many possibilities. Number one, your child is not going to like music because it's very rigid. Or number two, you're going to be in an analysis paralysis mode and delay starting your child with music and miss out on the golden window of starting music for children. Possibly you are in three situations. Number one situation, you call up a music school and then you say, hey, I want to enroll my children in your school. And the chances are they're going to be like, hey, how old is your child? 4? 3. Sorry, ma'am, he's too young. Come back when he's 7. And that could be one possibility. You get like shut down and you think, okay, is this not the right age? Situation 2, you enroll in a class and you've put them in a course, they're doing some sort of a grade or whatever it is that you feel that they importantly need to be doing. You're trusting the school to do it. But after some time, the excitement of your child is all diminished. They seem to not want to go. They're making excuses. They're not practicing. They're running away from the class. You probably think it's the teacher, and you change the school and it's the same situation. Then you probably decide, my child is not a musically inclined kid. Probably do football, gymnastics, swimming, or something totally different. Third situation, you are a typical millennial parent scrolling Instagram, doing your research, finding the best to give for your child, but you can't find the right teacher, you can't find the right school, and you're wondering what to do. Or maybe you're a procrastinator. You say, nah, maybe not now. Or you get into this analysis paralysis mode and then you delay and miss out on the golden opportunity. 0 to 7 itself is called the golden window. So why is it called the golden window? Let me quote you something very said many centuries ago. Show me a child till he's 7 and I'll show you the man. Now, that was said many centuries ago, and it's very true till today, because this is the stage where children grasp any concept. Now, let me give you an extreme idea. There are some extremist groups that have children indoctrinated at an early age. So they grow up thinking another community is beneath or not necessarily deserve to live. Now, that's an extreme example, but this is an exploitation of how young children can be indoctrinated into beliefs, anything for that matter. But what we're going to do is use this golden window to teach them many other things. You could do morals, you could teach them things about language, different nuances. But regarding music, there are many things happening. There are many cortices. There are 4 cortices happening, or rather within the mind of the child, the brain of the child: the motor, sensory, visual, and auditory cortex. By giving them play-based activities, you're activating all these cortices, and that creates new neural pathways. So even if your child is not born musical, which is possibly true, and I've seen children finding difficulty in keeping rhythm, that can change because early intervention makes reinforced whatever behavior or skills that can be inculcated and learned. So even if your child may be having some sort of a learning difficulty, this is the stage where you can intervene. There are 4 areas of the brain that are also getting activated when you give your children all these fun musical activities: the amygdala, the cerebellum, the hippocampus, and the corpus callosum. Now, I'm not going to give you a lot of science jargon. You can go and check it out. But the child's brain activates like Diwali. Every time you give them all these musical activities, there's so many neural connections happening. If you miss out on this window, they will still learn music, but they're not going to be the geniuses that you could possibly make if you intervene early. It's proven that you can have a 6 point higher IQ if you start learning music at an earlier stage. So let's dive into the different stages of childhood. Stage one is infancy. There are many more stages. I'm just going to go ahead and break it down into simple. So, infancy, and then you have toddlers, and this is another big segment, early childhood, and then you have middle childhood, and then we have the tweens, and then, of course, the dreaded teens. Now, infancy 0 to 12, toddlers are anywhere between 1 to 2, early childhood, kids from 2 all the way up to 7 years of age, and middle childhood is 8 to 10. The tweens would be 11 and 12, and of course, 13 plus till adulthood would be your teens, right? So this is different stages of childhood. Now, children also grow, very important. I want you to listen to this. Even if you forget about the other parts, this is very, very important for you to understand. Children grow in 4 different quadrants. I've put it down in 4 different quadrants. There are many other. We just need to know just these main 4. The first area that is very obvious to us is physical, right? And then you have the cognitive, and then you have the social and emotional side of it. So for it to flow off your tongue, it's social, emotional, cognitive, and physical. So let me quickly walk you through these 4 quadrants. Physical is basically anything to do with their gross motor skills to play an instrument. Gross motor means moving the whole hands. Fine motor would mean their fingers. Cognitive is something mental. Can they understand the step-by-step instructions? The social aspect is, are they comfortable with other children? Are they comfortable with another adult? Emotionally would be, do they have the self-regulation to wait, to take their turn, and to listen? So all of this put together is what actually is happening within that little squishy brain of the little toddler or your early childhood daughter or son. So this is 4 quadrants. So these are the 4 different areas. So what I'm going to do right now is show you these 4 areas and 3 other areas where you need to see how this works with each age group. So when you look at this drawing, you'll also have a PDF. If you go ahead and sign up with your name and your email ID, will send you a PDF. But what you need to understand is what to do at each stage, what instrument, what style of learning, and what should the main focus be. We're going to jump into it right now. So we just spoke about the grid. So this is how it looks. This is the age of your child, this side. And these are the different areas you need to be aware of, which we're going to discuss. But before we discuss that, we just spoke about social emotional learning. We spoke about cognitive areas of improvement or growth. Then we spoke about the very obvious physical growth. And these are the new aspects I've not spoken about. I'm going to jump right into it right now. So here, what are the instruments? Do we start with guitar or piano or sitar or tabla? We're going to quickly figure that out. Here, pedagogy. Now, pedagogy means it's the art and style of teaching. How can a child learn? It's a philosophy. It's a thought process. You must have heard of the Montessori approach, or maybe your parent who's understood what the Waldorf approach is, or you must have heard of IB or CIE or ICSE. All these have a particular way of teaching based on whatever philosophy they believe. Now, there are early childhood music pedagogies, music styles, which you need to be aware of if you are starting very early. So we'll discuss that at what age, what pedagogy works for your child. And more importantly, what should be the focus? Should grades be the focus? Should them just being jumping around and running around, is that even music at all? We'll talk all about it. So in my experience, I'm going to give you what would be the standard benchmark so you can understand what to do, when to do, and how to do it. All right. So the first part for kids, I'm not going to talk necessarily in particular segments of, because there's a huge difference between 1 to 6 months, 6 to 10 months, and 12 months. Those are wider, more integrated details. I'm just going to give you a blanket idea. All right. So for the first part, now, when a child is from 0 to 2, social and emotional learning, one of the most important things they care about bonding with their parents. Second would be they respond to your voice. The voice of the mother is the most soothing thing. The voice of the father is what they listen to. It doesn't have to be musical or not, but socially and emotionally, they're connecting with your voice and with the bond that you create. So, musically, you can start introducing singing lullabies, and that's what we're going to be discussing here. Cognitively, what's happening, they are slowly recognizing patterns. They'll understand, okay, that's a triangle, that's a square, that's a circle. So they understand visually what's happening. But unknown to you, the first 1,000 days are the most important for a child because that brain is creating 700 or 7, I think it's 700 million connections every other moment. Every time your child touches something and is participating in singing or moving, or you're singing lullabies, there are new connections that are happening within your child's brain. So don't think, oh, my little infant is not ready. There are many things you could do. So physically, what's happening, you have a lot of sensory development that's happening. So something to do with their tiny little hands. If you can give them a little shaker or a little soft drum, those are the things that can really stimulate that, hey, this is really cool. Music is happening. So physically, children at this age need sensory stimulation because that's the sensory cortex that is getting activated. So something to do with their hands or legs when you clap and touch, when they're playing little egg shakers or some soft drum or a little rattle. Trust me, it is just a little game for you, but for them, there are thousands and millions of neural connections that are happening within the brain of your child and are making them musical even though they might not be born musical. That's the cool part, and that's how changes are happening within the brain. Now, there's a lot of head movement. They can move their head, they can move their hands, they can move their feet. You can hold their legs and move and what you call clap to the beat, where you're reinforcing musical concepts. All right, this is the physical aspects. So, what could be the instruments that you could introduce them to? Little egg shakers. I think I have an egg shaker right here. You can see it. That's the egg shaker. You can use a maraca, or these are small little rattles. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about when I'm visually looking at them. Or you can use a drum, a soft drum. Doesn't have to be something real, but it has to have something that they can beat on, that they can move their whole hands. Now, what would be the pedagogy? Now, the pedagogy is you basically singing lullabies. When they are sleeping, if you can go ahead and sing them your favorite lullaby that your grandma taught you, it's very soothing for the child, and they're starting to recognize melodies and they learn words. So there are a lot of things that can happen. And more importantly, they are listening. There's a lot of auditory cortex that is being activated. So they are hearing the right, what do you call, tunes, the melodies, and you could go ahead and introduce them to simple songs. All right, that really stimulates the brain, and your child grows complete, wholesomely. Right. So what would be the focus? The focus, of course, They are very little, but trust me, young children as young as 6 months can sing on key, at least one note or two notes, and that's happened to my daughter. And it's really exciting to see how your child can mimic sound on key and on pitch. On pitch means the exact sound, the exact variation of what you're doing. Your child can do. It's very, very fascinating. So one thing that you need to do is your child needs to understand sound. Is it going up? Is it going down? Is it very loud? Is it very soft? Is it very disjointed? Is it smooth? Is it up? Is it down? Lot of possibilities in sound. So just they are aware of it, and more importantly, they are aware that there is a beat. Now that's the most important thing. Now keeping a beat, as you say in Sanskrit or any Indian language, talam, tala. Keeping a beat is very, very important. You can sway and rock and move them, and that reinforces this whole concept of beat and then sound. Very simple. Let me quickly recap you with this. Socially bonding, and they are listening and responding to your voice. They understand patterns. Their brain is got a lot of memory. That's early memories being created with the sound and the movement that you are introducing them to. You have to have a lot of sensory stimulation for their sensory cortex to be activated. Instruments could be shakers, rattles, drums. You can also do something called a desk bell. Now, a desk bell is very, very important for children because it helps the whole hand move. You must have seen this in a hotel when you're going, right? The people would ring the bell and you'll have the guy come and pick your bags. There are bells made for little children. You can probably see one on the screen right now. This is very important for children to get early rhythm as well as early melody or pitch in place. So the next part will be the pedagogy. Now, they're obviously not going to be going to school, but if they are in a baby class or you're doing something with them, lullabies, imitation, getting them to repeat, funny sounds, silly sounds, cows, goats, parrots, whatever you can make them repeat, great. What would be the focus? Loud, soft, different sound and movement, how the sound goes high, short, loud, soft, and then, of course, a steady beat. Now, this is your infancy all the way up to 2, which is toddlers. So we're quickly going to jump into the second part. In this stage, you probably have a lot of things happening. One thing that I get, there's a lot of expression. You'll find the terrible 2s, the terrible 3s, right? Because there are different areas of the brain that are getting activated. So you'll find a lot of expressive feelings, anger, fear, tantrums, you can name it. There's quite a lot of things that are happening with little children. You can also begin that they're not just very individualistic. They're trying to slowly play with other people. They want to play with their friends. They understand this term called friends, and they are feeling very happy to do something with another child. Now, you will also find that they are understanding patterns. So any sort of game, whether it's a hand clapping game, really makes a lot of sense, where you can teach them concepts in the game itself. Now, this is your social, emotional aspects with regards to music. The next part would be the cognitive part, where there is even more extensive pattern recognition. They start understanding how these patterns can work, and they will also go ahead and follow and imitate the same thing. So imitation is a big part of this stage of childhood, where they are doing and learning much more than what they were doing when they were from 0 to 2. The physical aspect, now very important to understand, they're able to grasp and move their whole hand. The whole hand movement becomes much more active. They can hold and grasp something and hit it. So the gross motor skills, very important to know. Gross motor basically means your whole hand moving. And when it comes to instruments, what could be possibly the best instruments that they could do? Same here again, you are looking at a drum, something that children love to beat on. The whole hand can move. You're looking at rattles, you're looking at egg shakers, maybe a small little xylophone that can bring little pitch and tune. You may say, hey, why not piano and guitar? Just hang on there. I'll tell you why. You'll understand in a little while why you can't do it. And what would be the pedagogy, the style of teaching that this age group requires? So let me introduce you to two, or in fact, just let me introduce you to one child-centric pedagogy made for children. Okay, this is called the ORF approach. You can just remember the word ORF. Okay, ORF is a child-centric, play-based style of teaching made for children. It uses the concept of play, and it has a very simple framework. It starts with imitation. As you see, that's one of their cognitive ways of learning. So Orff, the person who came up with this pedagogy, he knew that children will imitate and they will repeat. And from there, you allow them to explore concepts. Now, this may be a bit abstract for you to understand and see. Perhaps you can go watch some of my videos on Instagram and you can understand how play-based approaches are one of the best ways to have 2 to 3 year olds interact and learn music. So ORF is a style of teaching which should be probably the only way a child should be learning music. There are other pedagogies, but they need to be absolutely child-centric. Grades would be the worst thing you could do for a 3 or a 4 year old right now. They need to explore music without even realizing they are learning music. And what would be the focus? Same thing here. They would start with beat. They need to keep a steady pulse, and that's about it. They need to be able to start, and they need to be able to stop. If they can do more than high and low, fantastic. And here's another thing, they also need to have pitch exploration. They need to be able to go high and low with their voices. They need to understand loud and soft, disconnected and connected. These are the areas of focus that you can look at when you are looking for this age group, which is 2 to 4. So this is your grid. No need for guitar, no need for piano. Physically, their whole hands have to move. Cognitively, they understand patterns very well and they can imitate. They can copy you and say, copy me, and they will copy the same thing. Very, very important for this age. And when it comes to social emotional learning, they're very expressive. So there could be a lot of tantrums. They're still settling down. They don't have a rhythm. And more importantly, they slowly are getting out of their shell and they want to connect and play with their friends, which is a very good boost that you can use to socially get them acclimatized, how to wait, how to talk, how to self-regulate. Now, this is why it's important that the pedagogy is play and not restrictive to one place where children can. The worst punishment you can give a child is sit in one corner. And that's how instruments are learned, right? So that will be the most counterintuitive thing for you to do at this stage. So I hope this is clear. We're quickly going to go and jump into the next stage of childhood. This is the more interesting stage where things get a little more happening. You can do much more. You're seeing their personality already being formed. This is 5 to 7. Now, what happens in 5 to 7? They enjoy group activities. There's a lot of curiosity. Why this dada? Why that mama? And they'll be coming back to back, because what's happening on the mind is they're becoming very sensitized to the world. They're starting to reason and question. So first things first, you're going to be getting a lot of why, but how. You need to be able to have a lot of answers and be prepared to answer them spontaneously, all right? And when it comes to group activities, they're going to have a lot of fun now. Playing in a group is no longer stressful. It is joyful because they want to mingle and interact. So playing with a group is going to be a very, very good activity for them. So individual, not so much, but in a group, it's a great, great activity for them. Now, cognitively, what's happening, your children are able to listen to multiple steps. Multiple steps, one step, two step, possibly even three, multi-step instructions, but maximum two. So this is still less, but for their age, that is the milestone, two-step instructions. That's why a guitar or a piano is still not the right time. You know why? It can be very overwhelming. Stand here, put your elbows this way, look at that note, put this finger here, put that here, sit straight. That's too overwhelming for a child. So it's not very, it's stressful. It causes extra pressure. Your children are not going to enjoy it. That's why one or two steps is all that you need. But you may say, what instrument? There are many things. We'll talk about that. So physically, what's happening? They still are developing their gross motor skills, but fine motor are slowly developing. They're slowly getting a hand of using all their digits. The dexterity is not fully in place. That's why you'll run and make sure that the glass bowl is taken away, or you'll be like, hold it with both hands. You're still very particular, right? So imagine them doing an instrument. That's why fine motor skills are still developing. All right. Now, what could be similar to your previous section? You use a drum, you use a rattle, you can use a desk bell, you can have a small xylophone as their learning instrument. You can probably just show them this is a piano, that is a drum, but the rules will bog them down. They don't need to be exposed to that. What would be the pedagogy here? Now, this pedagogy, let me introduce you to another one called the Kodai approach. Now, the ORF will continue. The Kodai will be also added here, where they are learning music, not just in front of an instrument. Because let me give you a quote right by Karl Orff himself. Music doesn't start in front of a piano. It doesn't start in front of a guitar. Music is a very innate internal thing. So the instruction also must be very internal. So that's why the pedagogy allows the child to imitate, to explore, to compose, and to improvise. So this world is very, very important for a child to experience before they do formal music education. So what we are suggesting, Orff and Kodai, are informal methods of music education. They are a precursor to formal education. Just like how you teach your children Malayalam or Kannada or Japanese or German, you don't show them all the rules and regulations, do you? You just speak, they imitate, they repeat, and before you know it, they are talking so much, they understand all the nuances of language. The reading and writing part comes in way, way, way later. After 6 or 7, that's when their brain is really ready, right? So that's the same concept here with music education as well. So what would be the focus? The focus here would be early reading. Now, what do you mean by early reading? But there again, just to remind you, this is in the context of music education and other things as well. But with music education, early reading means you don't have to show them notations. You can show them X marks. You can show them other symbols and give them values. So early reading is just an association of any symbol. You give it a beat, you give it a pitch. That's what happens with children at this stage. They're recognizing patterns and they're trying to give them value and meaning and ideas. All right. So at this stage, it's very important that they are getting prepared to do grade 1. If you are those like, no, I'm a graded guy. So if they are ready about 7 to start, by the time they're 7, they should have the knowledge of all what is this note, what's the value here, but in a playful way. So just a quick recap, 5 to 7, a lot of questions. They love group activities. Cognitively, their mind is really, really exploring multiple step instructions, maximum 2, 3, maybe if they're very cognitively evolved, but still 1 or 2 steps. Physically, their gross motor skills are improving. They're getting slowly, fine motor skills are getting activated. When it comes to instruments, you're still doing drums, bells, shakers, xylophones. You can possibly introduce the recorder, but I would say wait on. And what is the pedagogy, the style of teaching? The style of teaching would be the Orff Schulwerk approach and the Kodai method. Now, check with your music teachers. They should know about this. If they don't know about them, ask them to find out. Let them research. Otherwise, you don't want to risk your child hating music class. You should be running to a music class and not running away from a music class. A music class should be a lot of fun and building confidence in a child and not the other way around. And the last aspect would be early reading. They should know not just a steady beat, they should also know what an offbeat is, a little bit of a syncopation, and more concepts in rhythm. So this is pretty much what will happen in early childhood, all the way from 0 all the way to about 7. This is the introduction, a precursor, an informal, playful discovery and exploration of music for little children. In this video, we have given you an entire roadmap from 0, from babies all the way to 7, of how you can choose what your children will do in music. So remember the areas of growth: physical, there is the cognitive, social, emotional areas. It's a complete quadrant that you have to look at, not just like, no, he or she needs to do this. And then the next aspect was what instrument they should learn, what is the style of teaching your child should be learning in or through. And the last would be what is the focus. If you follow this chart, you should get a more objective perspective of why children should be doing certain things and why they should not be doing certain things. Now, if you would like to get a full PDF all the way from babies till teenage, you can click on the link here and you'll get a free PDF that you can look and follow and get an understanding of what to do, when to do, and how to start music with your children. So let me give you a few tips quickly, parents. I say this as a dad and as a teacher who's done this for more than 2 decades. And I've trained at least more than 2,000 music teachers in the past 6 years. So I'm telling this out of experience, not from here's how you should or should not do it. Don't enroll little children below the age of 6 or 7 into some rigid traditional program. I'm not against Western. I'm not against Hindustani or Carnatic. I'm very, very against the approach that children are taught in. It's very insipid. It can suck the joy out of learning, and children will hate music, and that's not how it should be. So avoid traditional courses, unless, of course, your child is a genius, and but my suggestion is children are still children. They're growing in all these areas. They need to play. They need to learn to self-regulate. They need to know how to work with the group. That's why music in these pedagogies are well suited for the early years that your children are in. So what would you do alternatively? So if you're a mom with a little baby, look for a baby toddler class. They need to have a lot of sensory activities. It needs to be you holding your child and moving with the beat along in the class, guided by a facilitator who knows what they're doing. Just singing songs or just is fun. You could do that with Cocomelon at home as well, right? You don't really need a music class for just singing songs. So my suggestion is look for play-based music class in your city. You should find some direction. Look at what the teacher is saying. Ask what pedagogy they are using to teach your little children. You should be aware. There's a whole ocean of information that you can check and ask and find out. Well, if you want to know what you should look for in a music school, perhaps that is another video for another time that you can check out in the near future. But in the meantime, these are the things you should be avoiding. Don't do traditional, insipid classes. Wait for the right time, and that time would be 7 and post. So in this video, we've covered infancy all the way to year 7, that is early childhood. And in the next video, we're going to do middle childhood and teenage and what would be the journey from there. So I would request you to go ahead and click on the link on my left so you can get a follow-up of the entire series of raising musical children. So if you really like this video, if you know a parent that really would like to get this information, because you don't really find this information out there, go ahead and share it with them. Or if you know your music teacher, or if you are a music teacher yourself and you're like, hey, this guy is saying something, I think I can identify with it, or I can recollect the same struggles that I am having, go ahead and share it with another music teacher. This can perhaps really be a lifesaver, and you don't really have to be frustrated saying teach guitar or piano to little kids. There are many other alternative, proven methods that can make your life really awesome. You will thrive learning. Your children will thrive. The parents are going to be happy. If you'd like to know more, you can go and read in the description. I run Tala. I'm the founder of Tala. We do professional development workshops for teachers and for early years teachers as well that deal with children from 0 to 7. So subscribe today and stay tuned for more musical content about raising confident musical children.